Thanks for staying tuned. It's still iBrand Daybreak, and now it's time for our discussion segment. Rivers State Governor Wike says he wants to become Nigeria's president in 2023 to end the country's Hydra-headed problems, majorly insecurity. He called on national delegates of the People's Democratic Party not to sell their votes, but to consider him. Wike, who addressed the party delegates at the government house in Makurdi, said almost all the presidential aspirants from the party were responsible for the party's defeat in 2015. Quote, "If I become the president, I'll take security as a priority because the main purpose of government is the protection of lives and property," end of quote. Now joining us to make sense of Wike's declaration is Mike Cookie, a public affairs analyst who joins us via the phone from Port Harcourt. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Cookie. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Sampson, and good morning to Margaret.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's start from the basics. Wike has joined the race. What do you make of his declaration?
Yeah, I think it's a welcome development. Firstly, he's entitled to his right to aspiring to the highest position of the land, the highest office of the land. So, him joining the race, I think it's entitled to it, and it's also a welcome development as well.
All right, with Wike he's known and addressed as the action governor now, as the talk and do governor, more like the fearless governor. Now, do you think his actions in Rivers State and how he's been able to fight all of the happenings, especially with the VAT collection, fighting for state, and Lagos State came into the picture, do you think he's the ideal candidate for presidency based on all of these, or there's something more to qualify for someone who would run for presidency?
Okay, so to correct that, is popularly known and called Mr. Project.
That's in Rivers State, of course.
Yeah, and that's given to the fact of the landmark projects that he has been able to deliver in Rivers State, okay, legacy projects across the land, the length and breadth of Port Harcourt, and of course by extension Rivers State. So when you want to look at his achievements so far, infrastructure wise and all of it, you will have reasons to want to also commend his ambition or his presidential ambition, to the federal. I think Wike is someone that you may not like his style of politics, but obviously one thing that stands him out, he has the courage to speak truth to power. Okay? There have been instances in Port Harcourt where he has defied the odds, and he has tried to put things in the right perspective. A case in point is during the COVID-19 era. He was leading the battle from the front, ensuring that COVID protocols are being observed and people do not flout, the rules so as to escalate or increase the numbers in the COVID in the states then. So he led that battle from the front. He fought against predominant powers that so-called he broke political protocols, and in some quarters he was seen like he was a bad man, but of course he had to put the citizens first. Okay, and secondly, with the recent feat that he's been able to achieve with the ecological hazard being caused by the burning of or brewing of petroleum product, the popularly known fire saga. Okay, that there are black suits everywhere in Port Harcourt. He's been able to also give it a hard fight. Though it's not completely eradicated, but it has been reduced to the barest minimum. Not as bad as it used to be then. So I think with a man with such kind of courage, okay, to defy the odds and recommended if he wants to take a shot at the presidential or taking a presidential ambition, because you need a courageous leader to be able to govern this country.
Okay, you've spoken in glowing terms of the governor Nyesom Wike and his achievements in Rivers State. We've had over time, candidates or aspirants that seemingly are viable for whatever office they are, pursuing, but the platform is not ready to accept them. And by the platform, I mean the party. Now, when you look at the PDP, especially with the issue of zoning or not zoning, you would understand that Wike also has a fight on his hands regards the possibility of clinching the ticket, because you still have northern, counterparts there who are also pursuing the same. So, do you think PDP should zone their presidency to the south and, ignore the north, considering the last time they had the north as their presidential candidates?
Yeah, so if you want to look at the political structures of parties, especially the two legacy parties that you have, the APC and the PDP. Yeah, just like you rightly said, the last time you had the Waziri of Adamawa, that is the former Vice President of Nigeria, Elijah Abubakar Atiku, okay, that was flying the presidential flag of the party. It was zoned to the north. The PDP as a party zoned that presidency to the north, and that gave rise for Elijah Atiku Abubakar to claim the ticket. Okay, so ordinarily, I think it is proper for the PDP. They have a zoning formula or zoning arrangement that has been age-long for as long as the party has existed, and they've used that to kind of balance, the politics within the party. So, trying to want to evade that zoning structure that the party has always held, I don't think it might be the right thing, and probably that's why the River State governor is calling, adding his voice to others that the party should still adhere to what it's known for. Zoning of offices and zoning of it tends to give a fair treatment to all geopolitical zones within the party when positions are being zoned. So I think it is a proper thing to do.
All right, Mr. Koki, earlier on you mentioned that we may not like Wike's style of politics. Yes. Now the thing is, what is really his style of politics? Because I remember one time he had maybe an altercation or a back and forth with the current president of Nigeria, Buhari, and one time Buhari visited Rivers State. We know how much he has been able to tackle the presidency in the area of insecurity. And knowing fully well the way politics is played in Nigeria, there should be a form of paying of allegiance to the ruling party, or the rather who is on seat. So with that kind of style of politics, it may not be wrong in the sense of it, but do you think it would fly in a system like this and with the kind of politics that Nigerians or we play in Nigeria?
Okay, so like you rightly said, yes, in some quarters, like I did say, okay, he's being seen as a deviant, maybe a bad politician that is not loyal to the center, and as the case might be, most politicians, they always think of the next election, and they are not statesmanship in their thoughts, and that's why I earlier said that you may not like his style of politics. What is his style of politics? He doesn't play the conventional playing to the gallery kind of, flattering people, making promises where you may not be able to keep it just because you want electoral votes, So he's been having running battles, yes, with the government at the center, and that has, in no small way, costed the state, deprived the state of, projects that ordinarily would have come to Port Harcourt or to Rivers State, but because the governor is seen not attention to some of these national issues. You know, he's been called names, he's been maligned. So I think for some of us, we think if we have a president that is a leader that want to defy the normal odds, you know, that politicians play, that's what we need, because presently Nigeria is bleeding and we are in the woods. So we need someone that can be able to stand, you know, his grounds and make things happen for the interest of Nigerians.
All right, now in the last 1 year, or 1 year plus in Rivers State, we've had a lot of projects. I know the governor of Rivers State is known in Rivers State as Mr. Project, but outside Rivers State, he's known as the Action Governor, or the Talk and Do Governor. But in Rivers State, he's called Mr. Project because of the numerous projects he had been able to carry out since he's taking his inception of office. And now in the past 1 year, we've seen the many projects, from the one at Artillery to the one at CFC, the one at GRA, OGRA, Rumokoro, Eliozu. But it's more like it's jam-packed. And now there were talks that this is geared towards, because his tenure is expiring, obviously, and it's geared towards the presidential seat. Now, these talks happened sometime last year, and they're all geared towards the presidential seat. And the questions from Nigerians or Rivers people, some Rivers people, were, why the rush? These things are amazing things to be done, but why the rush? Putting all of these projects together as though you didn't have 8 years or 7 years to make all of this. So do you think, as a Rivers man, do you think all of those projects were geared towards the presidential election or the presidential seats as what some Rivers people or what some Nigerians were thinking?
Okay, so those are thoughts of different individuals, and they're actually entitled to their opinion. Of course, people have rights to their opinion, but I think in my opinion and assessment, see, I was raised up here in Port Harcourt, and at a point in my career, I left the state for close to about 8 to 10 years. All right, I know how the state used to be before I left the state, and I recently came back to the state, and obviously I was amazed to see most of the developments that have taken place, especially in the old Port Harcourt township. Okay, I recently came across a voluminous book, you know, that I saw the 6 years audacious transformation of this present administration. Okay, all that he's been able to do within the last 6 years. I think he's in his 7th year now in governance. And I took time to evaluate some of these things. And it's not just mere talk. Okay, well, some would say, why, like you put the question, why the rush in this last 1 year?
It was Rivers people who put the question, not me.
Of bridges and all of that. But before then, there have been projects, legacy projects that this governor had been able to do. I'm from the riverine part of the River State, and I can tell you for free that before this time, if I have to access my hometown, which is Opopo town, I normally go through the waterways. But to my amazement, I came back and I saw that this governor has been able to give, to be able to link my community with the mainstream township in Port Harcourt. And this was not done within the last 1 year. And that's a legacy project for me. Same thing, he's been able to also do other riverine communities. There is a Trans-Calabari link road that he's been able to connect riverine communities with the main township. And it wasn't also done within the last 1 year. He has done 18 major single-lane roads. It wasn't achieved just within the last 1 year. So whatsoever, people, that, like I said, they have their right to their opinion, but I really
Okay, let's look at Wike as a presidential aspirant now. More often than not, political parties want to field a candidate that has the clout, the influence, the pull, not just from a particular region, but across board, talking about, you know, the entire nation. Someone like Wike, his detractors will tell you if his influence is limited to the South, that he can't command the numbers you would expect within a presidential election from the North. And we know quite well that the North has, you know, the bulk of the numbers when it comes to politics. Politics is all about numbers, especially for elections in terms of winning. So looking at Wike as a candidate, or rather an aspirant for now, if he eventually clinches the you know, ticket for PDP, do you think he has what it takes to pull the numbers from the North, where the majority definitely lies there? That's one. Then two, if he fails to clinch that, what would you expect he plays as a role within the PDP to ensure that whoever emerges as the front runner, or the flag bearer rather, would have the necessary support even from the South or the North?
Okay, so let me probably begin with your last question. What role you think that he may play to be able to keep the party, give the party the winning edge? I ordinarily try to study his political track record. I discovered that ever since the last election, that when the party could not clinch the ticket, okay, Wike was actually on ground. Even when some of the so-called big wigs and big names in the party decided to go cold and go into the coolers just because they did not win elections and all of that, he was one governor that actually stood and shouldered the party, you know, coming from the ruling party to an opposition party. It's not really easy, but he was there. Okay, he funded the party in his little way and gave that party the life to still be like a viral opposition party. So I'm saying this against the backdrop of the fact that he has always been a party man. And I want to believe that even if his ambition doesn't go his way, he might still remain a loyal party man, because he has been fighting, you know, the battle or sustaining the party, the PDP as a party, even as an opposition. Okay, so it doesn't go his way. I believe he will still give the required support to whosoever that the party deemed fit. But I also want to think that the party will also choose to want to do the right thing and give everybody a level playing ground, you know, to aspire in their ambition. Okay, so having said that, the other part of your question of if he has the numbers to be able to clinch his ambition.
From the North.
Hello?
Yes, I'm with you. I said from the North.
Yes, from the North. Okay, so I think it was your colleague, Margaret, that said that outside Port Harcourt he is known as the action governor. All right? And of course, truthfully, even the name Mr. Project was given to him by the vice president of this country when he was invited, you know, to come and commission one of the projects that he did. So I think Wike has that bridge, has been able to build political bridges across the Niger Delta, okay, with the northern counterparts. Okay, the other day I know that they had the PDP governors forum here in Port Harcourt that he hosted, and you could see the camaraderie between him and the northern, you know, governors that attended. So he has his followership across the north, and not just only within the south. And of course, politics is a thing of trying to connect with the different geopolitical zones, which he has been doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Koki, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this conversation. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll take a short break now. I'm sure you enjoyed this segment. We have another interesting conversation for you after the short break. Stay with us.